Often times when people go through their initial training of networking like CCNA, they get to know this local area network and wide area network, but still somewhere there is a doubt sometimes when somebody asks, because people sometimes loosely use these terms and they don't really mean that. So let's discuss what is local area network and what is wide area network, and where does wide area network begin and where does LAN end. Okay, so if you go here, what I have is maybe we have one of our office, site A, suppose, and what we want to do is we want to build a local area network, as in we want to connect different computers here, different devices. Maybe we have certain servers as well, and maybe even sometimes we might have a little bit of IP phones as well. So this all is part of the local area network. Okay, as a network engineer of this company, that person who is managing all this network, he'll be responsible for whole of this infrastructure. They'll be configuring that, they'll be responsible for all the defining of policies and everything. But somewhere when they want to connect to another site, like let's say site B, okay, now they can't go and just take permission from everyone and then dug up their own whole leased line through one office to another office. These cities might be far away. So that is where WAN comes into picture. Okay, and we say that okay, in order to join these two sites which are geographically very far away, we'll use wide area network. Okay, now sometimes when people say okay, what is LAN, people define okay, LAN is a network for a small geographic area. Now whenever you say small or large, this is a relative term. Like sometimes we can say something is small compared to something else. So where does a LAN end? Okay, a LAN ends where you need some service provider. Okay, your small network ends where you need some service provider to join these two local area networks. Okay, that is typically where we say that okay, our wide area network begins. Okay, so when you are taking services from a service provider, that is where WAN begins. Another point to explain here is that sometimes whenever there are two parties working together, like a service provider and a customer, they need to define responsibilities. Like okay, obviously a service provider network engineer will not configure things in our LAN. Okay, so that is also defined in a service level agreement. So what people do is they kind of define a demarcation point. Now what is demarcation point? Demarcation point is an actual physical location from where WAN service provider's responsibility begins, or WAN service provider's network engineer's responsibility begins, and LAN ends. So sometimes if we draw it in terms of if we just zoom it in here, maybe this is the customer and router and going to the service provider. So a lot of times this is the demarcation point. Okay, or most of the times I should say, if we talk about all the countries except US and some North American countries, again this is the demarcation point. So basically this is from where you can say again wide area network begins, just to have a little bit more clarity. And while configuring this particular router or anything on this side, okay, this is part of the local area network. Okay, I hope I've made myself clear what is local area network and what is wide area network. Now one more thing here. Okay, a lot of times people have this tendency to think that when you say what is WAN, they always think okay, internet. Okay, internet is not the only WAN. Okay, when you talk about internet, okay, it's one type of WAN. Okay, we might have a MPLS network to join these two branches. Okay, so if we use multi-protocol label switching to join these branches, we might take internet access from the service provider, or we might just neglect it. Okay, so that's another way where we can connect these two sites together, and without any internet we could use wide area network. And there are many other options. Okay, so when you say WAN, and don't think that internet is the only option for wide area network. Okay, although it is the one of the most common options that is used for wide area network. I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.